I know I haven't made videos lately. To be honest, I just have a lot of other projects that are occupying my time, and I've been in that scenario for the last few years. Plus, since Dragonflight was a pretty good expansion, and since it was clear my videos on hero talents weren't going to have any good effect, I mean, where did they get off wasting a node on Eternal Glory for Retribution with Herald of the Sun when Protection and Holy both use Word of Glory as part of their regular kits? Uh, Anyways, you can see why I stopped making these videos. But now that Cataclysm Classic is out and has been for a while, and I've got a lot of footage of it, I figure I should talk about how much fun it really is compared to retail. I mean, Cataclysm was the expansion that I keep calling my favorite, and have been calling my favorite ever since Mists of Pandaria. In fact, I've been doing that so much that I have a kind of a dilemma right now. I can either risk sounding like a broken record to anyone who's watched my older videos, or risk leaving out crucial context for anyone who hasn't. I guess I'll err on the side of being a broken record since it's been so long since I've made any videos, and it's dumb to assume viewers who are new are going to go and take the trouble to watch content that I made years ago. So here I go. There are a lot of things that I had in my kit in Cataclysm that I missed in later expansions, and some I don't even have now, like a ranged direct damage spell with no cooldown, and exorcism, blessing, seals, and, well, as of the War Within, that's actually kind of it. Back during Mists of Pandaria, my complaint would have been that I had no AoE damage tools other than a deep talent, and that I only had a badly balanced soloing Holy Power Spender and Glyph of Harsh Words. And then, in the prune fest that was Legion, my complaint would have been that I had an interrupt, seals, a ranged direct damage spell with no cooldown, an AoE heal with no cooldown, and blessings in Cataclysm. But then, slowly but surely, the lion's share of those complaints have been undone. Holy Light now can be talented to be a multi-target heal that provides holy power, albeit the splash healing is a little small. There's talents that turn Shield of the Righteous into a pretty decent single-target finisher that isn't pathetically small. Rebuke became available to Holy again thanks to Dragonflight's talent system. Legion re-added Consecration as a baseline AoE damage tool available to all specs. Auras have plenty of problems. They never got Retribution Aura balanced to the point where they were happy with it, so they ended up removing it altogether, instead of simply reinventing it as a plus versatility aura. Probably that's because they didn't feel like giving Paladins a raid-wide plus damage button with Aura Mastery, even if it would have been a minor boost. Seals never made a comeback after Warlords of Draenor, which is too bad. The big variety of seals with a big variety of animations was one of the things that made the Burning Crusade better than vanilla. Blessings, which maybe I should call them greater blessings, but they're basically the same story as seals. Briefly, they were in Retribution's kit to give them utility, though they were exclusive to Retribution. While they had pretty good visuals, especially back when there were a lot of them, you didn't cast them all that often. The one thing that Cataclysm has that the War Within doesn't have, besides those buffs, is Exorcism, a spell with no cooldown, a 30-yard range, and that deals decent damage. I'm well aware of the fact that Exorcism in its most recent incarnation was actually more of a dot applier for Retribution, but I'm talking about what it was when I was enjoying it. I can see the argument that the War Within doesn't really need a damage ability with no cooldown, at least not for when I'm soloing as Holy. The timing is pretty good for Holy Shot, Crusader Strike, Judgment, and Shield of the Righteous to the point where I rarely have gaps in my rotation. That being said, having a button to press when healing isn't needed when I'm in a dungeon or raid is better than not having one, and Denounce evolved into a button that provides precisely that during Warlords of Draenor. That is what I want back, and being able to consume Infusion of Light for extra damage or to generate Holy Power or the like would be a nice bonus, since I tend to end up with extra Infusion of Light charges that I can't make good use of while soloing. Of course, Exorcism in Cataclysm is something that Denounce wasn't towards the end of Warlords of Draenor, and that is mana thirsty. Denounce didn't even cost mana at the end of Warlords of Draenor. Exorcism makes my mana bar go down while I'm soloing, even with the talents that reduce its mana cost by 75%. I have to take a lot of water with me and drink after 4 or 5 battles. For that matter, when I'm healing in a dungeon, this is something I probably should have been talking about since the beginning of this video, but hey, better late than never. When I'm healing in a dungeon, I have to drink after every few battles to recover my mana too. That's not something I find myself needing to do much in retail, but then again, I'm probably better geared in retail than I am in Cataclysm, so maybe it's not exactly an apples-to-apples comparison. Healing in Cataclysm doesn't feel that different than it feels in the War Within either. Sure, the cooldowns are different. Holy Shock only has one charge, and Divine Light and Flash of Light really only get me Holy Power if I cast heals directly on the tank. Holy Light, as it is in Cataclysm, is a slow, low-cost heal that heals my target and my beacon for the same amount, which is nifty, and it has no equivalent in the War Within unless you count Flash of Light, which is once again the efficient heal like it was in the Wrath of the Lich King and before. Back during Legion and Battle for Azeroth, I was pining for Holy Radiance to come back, as it was a group heal that provided a charge of Holy Power when I cast it, and it had no cooldown at all. Now that I have it back, I don't use it very often, but that might be because I'm healing 5-man content instead of looking for raid. Well, I suppose this is what happens when you have rose-tinted glasses on. Every expansion has its pros and its cons. You can easily forget those cons while you're remembering the pros. Heck, Mists of Pandaria was considered the worst expansion yet at the time, and yet so many players these days look back on it with nostalgia for its class design, which, I have to admit, would have been perfect or near perfect if they just let Holy keep Consecration or have Seal of Righteousness make denounce AoE for Pete's sake. But I digress. I think one of the big pros of the way Blizzard is doing Classic is it allows us to revisit these older expansions that had different design philosophies and were at different places in the class revamp journey. It lets us see for ourselves just how good or bad they really were. I am having a lot of fun with Cataclysm, to be sure, and I wasn't incorrect in thinking that I would have a lot of fun back before Blizzard went nuts with their ability pruning. Hopefully, these looks back that Cataclysm Classic is providing us, and other classics too, will give the developers some excellent pointers in what's fun, what works, what doesn't work, and what we'd like to see make a comeback, such as Exorcism as a ranged direct damage spell with no cooldown.